This video will describe the Grammar Debugger in TBTA. We often compare developing a grammar for a language. It's very similar to developing a small software project. Here in TBTA, there are a sequence of instructions, and each instruction has a certain task. They each have a certain purpose, and sometimes when you're writing a rule, it won't exactly behave the way you want it to, so you need to use the debugger. And we're here at Genesis 3:15. This is a very long verse if you include the study note. You can see it's very long. When you're debugging your grammar, you'll almost certainly want to go to single sentence mode. Now it's much simpler, and it's just easier to debug when you're in single sentence mode. The one exception to that is if you happen to be working on a rule that requires multiple clauses to be loaded. Like here, for example, this particular rule, you have to have two main sentences in order for this rule to apply. And if you have one of these rules, you can't be in single sentence mode. But generally, when you're debugging, you'll want to be in single sentence mode. And to set a breakpoint, let's set a breakpoint on the theta grid adjustment rule for cause. So we open up our rules here. We find the rule for cause, and it's right there. All we do is click on it. And now you see down here, grammar spy invoked at theta grid adjustment rules, etc. I'd like to mention, you may remember from a previous video that all of these rules down through noun-noun relationships, those are all executed even before the verse is displayed to us. So you can't set a breakpoint up in these rules. But these rules are generally either very simple or we do them for you. For example, the feature adjustment rules, collapsing. This is very simple. You don't need to set a breakpoint in a rule like this. The complex concept insertion rules can be quite complex, but we guarantee that those work before we send them to you. So the bottom line is you can't put a breakpoint in any of these rules down through noun-noun relationships. The first place you can put a breakpoint is in the theta grid adjustment rules. And so let's go back. We can see down here, when I was clicking on the other rules, our breakpoint was cleared. So let's go back to the rule for clause, up here. So we click on it, and we see grammar spy invoked at theta grid adjustment rules, etc. And now we click the generate button, and as soon as it reaches that rule, it will stop. And here's our little debugger dialog. So it says ready to begin executing the following rule, and we can say execute next step. It'll walk. See, it's highlighting constituents up here in red as it walks through the verse. This constituent highlighted in red is not a verb, so this rule doesn't apply here. Okay, here it finds a verb. This constituent highlighted in red is a verb, so this rule may apply here. And it shows us the input structure for this particular rule. You can say continue executing next step. It tells you when the features match, etc. It's a very lengthy process. This shows you every decision that it's making and why. If you already know that your rule's input structure matches, but the problem is in the output structure, you can say go until input structure found. So now it's found the input structure. All of the constituents up here highlighted in red were in the input structure, and now TBTA will start walking through the output structure. And you can see, so here's the output structure. So this rule will insert the preposition with into an instrument noun phrase. It'll insert the preposition for into a beneficiary noun phrase, if there is one. It will copy the subject or the agent of the complement clause out, and it will become the object of the patient, etc. So you just say continue, execute next step. Eventually, you can say either finish or terminate. We'll say finish. But that's the idea. Let's set a few more breakpoints. Let's close this. Let's set a breakpoint on a phrase structure rule. We'll go to the verb phrase. So all we do is click on the rule's name, Grammar Spy invoked at phrase builder rules, verb phrases, etc. Click initialize, click generate, and it executes all of the rules up to this rule. Okay, now it's time to execute this rule, so it tells us, and we can say another shortcut. Okay, we know this will apply to verb phrases, so we can say go to next word, and now you see it highlighting in red each constituent as it's searching for a verb phrase. So now it's found a verb phrase. This constituent highlighted in red is a verb phrase, so this rule may apply here. And so it finds this, and when it finds a phrase that matches, it starts copying the constituents that are in there out to what we call a buffer. Just move a verb from this verse out into the buffer. Next, it will copy the word will out into the buffer. Just move pre-verbal from the verse out into the buffer. So now this verb phrase is empty. And now we see here the verb phrase rule. All of the groups and other labels have been stripped out. These are the constituents, and whatever constituents are out in the buffer, they will be copied back in according to the list here. And it highlights each constituent as it goes. So that's the idea. It now walks through this verb phrase. We'll say finish generation. I'd like to do one more, and that is for the find replace rules. Remember, the find replace rules don't operate down here. Instead, they operate on the text up here. Let's set one. We see here I will. So we'll put our breakpoint there. Okay, Grammar Spy invoked at find replace rules, etc. We click initialize, generate. There's no progress dialog when you're debugging. Ready to begin executing the following rule. And it shows us the input string, the output string, the rule applied, and it's up there. The result is up there. So that's how you set a breakpoint in the find replace rules. When you want to clear a breakpoint, let's say we've set a breakpoint, like right now. When you want to clear the breakpoint, all you do is click on a group name or a type of rule, and that will, whenever this text box here is clear, that means you don't have any breakpoints set. You can only set one breakpoint. But if you set one and then want to clear it, just click on something else, and it will be clear.